It's time to add some very basic materials to these models. And we've got the cabinet here, and we've got the end table. And I've brought them into the same scene here, same project, and I've shrunk them down so that they're inside this grid area here. The reason I've done that is because I'm going to make a plane in a couple minutes. That's just the default size. And we're going to put a basic procedural wood texture on that. But we're going to keep it simple for the materials. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to split my screen here, and I'm going to bring up a UV image editor window and open, and get my reference image in there. I'm doing that because I want to color pick and get some of the same colors from this, but when it comes to the end table, I think I'm going to use some of the same colors because they're in the same scene, and I think it might look better or more along the lines of what I want to do. Okay, so I've got that there. I'm going to go ahead and select the top here, and I'm going to come over to the Materials tab and click it, and click New, and I'm going to switch this here from Diffuse to Principled BSDF, and then for the base color, okay, I'm going to click there, and with the eyedropper, I'm going to come over to there, and I'm on Material Viewport Shading so I can see, and that's the basic color I'm going to start with. And for the parameters, I don't even need to go into the node editor, I can do it here. I'm going to come down here, I'm going to put the roughness at 0. Let's try 0.3. Leave everything else and come down to clear coat, and I'll put that at 0.3 as well. Let's see if that's okay. Okay, now I'm gonna give this a name, and I'm gonna call this cabinet top bot. I'll use the same, so I'll select the bottom, come in here, choose that material. I'll come over to the side here and click New, Principled, and I'm going to color pick here, and that's actually going to be the interior color, I think. So I'm going to do the same thing, roughness of 0.3 and clear coat 0.3. This is going to be cabinet in, and I'm going to make another material here, new, and I think I'm going to take this and copy this and paste it, and call this cabinet out, and that's going to be that. And then for cabinet in, I'm going to color pick. Actually, I take that back. Let's go to cabinet out. This cabinet in is what I want this to be. That's really on the other side because of the mirror. That's really this part that's going to be the cabinet in. And then actually I'm going to select the whole thing and assign cabinet out to it, which is a little easier to do. You'll see what I'm doing. And I'm going to color pick this lighter green. Okay, that's cabinet out. And then I'm going to reselect that middle part, and I'm going to choose cabinet in and assign, and see if I get that like that. Okay, and then I'm just going to come around here. This is basically going to be cabinet out, and I'll come in, and that one's selected. And if it's not, just in face selection. Because I want two materials on this same geometry, I've only got one in here. I'm going to click the plus to add cabinet, which one do I need? Cabinet in, and I'm going to assign to the middle part. So I got the two materials on this geometry. I'll do the same here. Choose cabinet out, and I'll also bring in cabinet in, and I'll go inside here, make sure that face is selected, and that's going to be cabinet in. And that's most of those. And for the handles, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to use this setup here. All right, so I'm going to create a new material. I think I will go into the node editor for this one. All right, so I'll select the handles. I'm going to split my screen this way. I'm not going to color pick. I don't think. T and T. I'm going to switch this view to a node editor, and to close that. And with the handle selected, I'm going to click new for new material. It does the same stuff over here, but I'll do it here. All right, and let's look at my little diagram. Okay, this is just a typical mix shader with 2 glossies, a layer weight, and value. So let's do mix shader, 2 glossies. In 2.79, I can, with Node Wrangler enabled, I can just select the diffuse and go Shift S and switch this to mix shader. And I want 2 glossies, so I can take that and Shift D and then Shift S, switch it to glossy, and Shift D to copy them. Glossy is going to go there, and a glossy is going to go there. And we'll just look at the values of these. Okay, I want a light color and a slightly darker white and a slightly darker. So this one is just gonna, I'm just gonna come down a little bit like that, somewhat darker actually. Got values of 0.2 in there right now by default, but those are going to get overridden, and I'll have 0.2 value there. I don't know if I absolutely need that. Well, I'm going to put that in the roughness channel anyhow. So I'm also going to need something up here, so I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to Shift S under input. I'm going to choose layer weight, and I want facing going into the FAC and a value of 0.8. And you can experiment with these till you get an effect that you like. Let's just see what that's like. Now, we don't really have any lights in here, but I've actually created lights. I'll show you. All right. I've just got 3 area lights here. This one I've set at sort of a lightish, almost a blue with 50. And this one is yellow, a little bit higher. And I'm on the back at white at just 20. Okay, and so I do have some lights. So if I come back and I look through my camera, which I have, I'm going to go Control up arrow, Shift Z, we can see those there. All right, so Control down arrow. I'm not certain I need that value. We could try it and see if it does the same thing. I think it might just collectively do that, so I might just leave those. Let's go to camera view. I like to put my lights and camera on a separate layer, so I can just come back here and I don't have to select through them or anything. So this is hand. I'll just call this handle. All right, and I'll select this and choose handle. I'm going to do the same thing for that one over here. Now for this guy, although it's brownish in here, I'm going to try a similar color scheme. Cabinet out there, and I'm going to come into the drawer and select that face, but I'm going to go, because there's another beveled edge there, I'm going to go Control plus to expand it by 1. I'm going to, because I want another material on this geometry, I'm going to go plus, add that cabinet into this. So I've got the 2 assigned to that part, and the handle is really built in here, so I'll select the face of it and go Control L to get what's linked. And I'm going to add a 3rd material here, which is a handle, and click Assign. So I have that. Okay. Now the legs and the bottom I will do in black, so I'm going to select the legs and click New. I don't even really need to color pick for that. I'm going to choose Principle, and I'm going to make this dark, almost black. And I'll do the same thing if I can. And I can. 0.3 for roughness and 0.3 for clear coat. Black. This one's also going to be black. Okay. I'll do the vase or vase. Principled. Let's color pick. See, because of the shadow, you got to decide where you want to color pick from. I'll try that side there. It's quite orange. 0.3 for roughness and 0.3 for clear coat. And the base. And let's select all of these books. So we got them all Shift H so that we can isolate just them. And what we're going to do is we're going to come in to one of them and select this stuff. I'm going to click New, and I'm going to leave it as diffuse. I'm just going to darken it ever so slightly, if I can here, like that. And I'm going to call this Paper, and I'm going to click Assign. And for these books, I'll do the basic colors. So I got this one here, and I'm going to click. Let's see how we'll do this. We'll go in, I guess. I'll select the whole thing. I'll do plus, New. Just leaving on diffuse for this. Color pick, say there. Book 1, I'll call it. Doesn't matter. I don't have to really color these. I'm going to click Assign. I'll just come back to the paper, select those faces, choose Paper and Assign. So there's one book, and then we got this one, New BSDF, color pick, green. We'll call this book 2. I'll go in, select that face, this one, and this one, and I'll go plus to add another material, and we'll find that Paper and Assign. All right, New, book 3. It's really the cover of the book, and we'll get this darkish gray. Come in, and it looks like I've got the paper selected, so I'll have to hit the plus, choose Paper, and Assign. And this one, what did I do? Nothing yet, so we'll do New, and this is a book 4. And I'll just darken it, not quite as gray. Let's see if we can see the paper on this one as well. Plus, Paper, Assign. It'll be pretty similar. Well, it's a little bit wider than it, so I might make the paper a bit wider. That's good enough for me, for what I want to do. Alt-H to bring those back. Okay, so let's get rid of, you'll notice that I did this handle in the same here instead of the wood one, just to match the theme a bit more. Let's get rid of this background image, pull down. Let's get rid of the node editor for the moment. I'll just look through the camera, and I'll shift and select my next layer and have a look at this so far. One thing I should note is that over here in the on this icon, I've come to the very bottom here in at least 2.79. It's under film here, and I've clicked transparent. If I don't, I'll get that typical world background, but I often like to do it as transparent these days so I can bring this into an image editing program or for compositing, and you can do some things, and I just think it looks nice like that. Okay, so this is what I've got so far, and it looks I guess fine to me. You can tweak it as much as you want. All right, so I'm going to save that. Now here's what we're going to do. I'm going to create a really basic procedural wood floor, and this is coming from the method by Grant Abbitt, a fantastic artist from the UK, and I'll link to his tutorial, and he's got a bunch of other amazing stuff that you can learn from. So I'll start off by doing Actually, I've used the handle material. I'm going to close that off, and I'll close off the basic material for the cabinets, and I'll even go close off that. We could do the complicated one, or we can do actually the simpler one, and we'll try the simpler one, which is covered in like sort of the first half of where am I going, of the video that I'm going to link to. If I can just find it, material cartoon wood. Now you've noticed I've called it cartoon wood. This is not actually it. I don't want that one. That's the one I want. I'm not really going for realism. I find that for me anyhow, if I try to do something with realism, there's so much to think about. And you know, I've like I've said all along, I want to have a good time. I'm busy. I got 2 kids. I got 3 dogs. I got a wife. Trying to have a little bit of a life. And I'm doing this stuff in the graveyard shift. And so, you know, I'm not really that concerned with, I'm not really that interested in realism. I'm more interested in cartoony stuff. Maybe that's because I watch cartoons all the time with my kids. So we're going to start off with this, and then if you watch the Grant Abbitt video, he'll take it 2 or 3 steps further. But let's start with this for making a wood procedural material. And another reason I'll just quickly say that I like this so much is because I really hate using other people's assets. I don't mind using their knowledge and their skills to learn and to improve, to make my own stuff. I don't want to use a stock image of wood and put it on my model. And, you know, I want to try to make my own. Even if it doesn't look as good, I prefer it. All right, so here's what we're going to do. It looks a little complicated, but it's really not that bad. We got the typical material output that we'll get when we create a material. We'll do a principal BSDF, so that's what we've done already. And then we're going to add the wood grain using the wave texture, all right? And we'll do some stuff with that. Notice, I don't know if you'll notice this, but we don't even really have to UV unwrap this plane, which is 1 button anyhow. We'll just choose generated, so I'll show you what I'm talking about. So we'll come back here, and on this same layer here, this first layer, I'm going to go Shift A. My 3D cursor, by the way, is right in the middle, and if it isn't, just go Shift C. Okay, Shift A, mesh plane, and it'll come in at that size right there. Okay, I don't even have to UV unwrap it. That's fine. I'm in object mode. I am going to split the screen now, however, and we'll come back to the node editor, and we're going to add in a material. So I'm going to click new. All right, so as soon as we do that, we get this material output and the diffuse. I'm going to switch this one to shader principled, and I'm going to leave it like that for the time being. Okay, let's come back to the reference image. Okay, so we have this. So we're going to do this stuff up here first, the wood grain. Okay, and we're going to need a mix RGB. This is going to give us the colors of the wood, and that you can definitely experiment with. And then we're going to need the wave texture, a mapping node, and a texture coordinate. So let's just start bringing those in. Okay, I'll take this one, and I'm going to go Shift D to copy it, and then I'm going to change it. I'm going to change this one to a mix RGB. I always forget where that is. Let me know if you see it, and I don't see it. So it should be, there it is. Okay, mix RGB, that's going to be our colors. I'm going to take this one and Shift D, and this is going to be our wave texture. So I'm going to go to texture and choose wave. And if you've got the node wrangler enabled, you can go Control T, and that'll add the mapping and the texture coordinate. Otherwise, you just go Shift A and you search for it. There's mapping and input. You get the texture coordinate. Okay. Okay. This is by default coming in as generated, and a line or a noodle or whatever is connected to vector, and that's going to be just fine. And this to this, that's going to be just fine. And I'm going to connect this color to the FAC so that I can use these two to determine the color of the wood. And if I come over here and I connect color to color, you'll see that right there. So I'm just going to go Shift H on that. So we just isolate that, look down from the top. So these would be like my bands of the wood. All right, and they're coming in as this color. We'll deal with that in a second. But the first thing is going to be to sort of straighten them. And in the Z direction, the Z is coming out at us. So I'm just going to come over here to the mapping under Z rotation. I'm going to switch that to 45. Now they're straight up and down like that. The next thing to do, I think, is we're going to start messing with this stuff. I'm going to switch to rings, and let's have a look at some of the stuff here. Okay, we can change the scale and the distortion here, so that's what we're going to do. We'll change the distortion. We'll start getting this kind of cool stuff here. Okay, and the scale. Let's bring it down. Like this. And then I'm going to adjust the X scale, and that's going to straighten it out. So check this out. Sort of like that, starting to become like wood. And I do want it kind of cartoony. All right, I'll just have a look at what values I use for here. I had like 10, 1.2, 25. And so I'm going to bring that up. Doesn't matter depending on the size of whatever. That's probably okay. Okay, so the next thing to do is to change the colors. So you want a wood color. So whatever color you want, I'm going to choose here. And I'm going to come down to the browns and I'm going to darken this. So maybe something like that. I'm going to choose my second one. And I'm going to color pick that one there as well. And now we can't see anything. And then on one of these, I'm just going to darken it up. You could start with that and see if you like that. Or okay. Right. So we're already getting our basic wood. What we're going to do next is we've pretty much done this part here. Okay. I don't know if you want to put stuff in frames or not. You could go Shift A down to Layout, Frame, drag frame up, and I can take this stuff, probably all of it. Gee, I can drop it in here. And did it not go? Alright, well, bring that in here. Bring that in there and just pull it out. Drop that in there. Yank it over. Drop that in there and pull it over. And then we get that. And then I can just grab the frame. And you can label it. You can go N and give it a name. You can call it gray. And you can even change its color if you want. So we have that. Okay. Okay, so we got some kind of wood. Now we need some lines on here. Okay, basic lines, wood lines. Okay, we're going to use a lot of the same stuff and then a color ramp and a bump. So I'm going to copy this stuff if I can. Sometimes it's weird when it's in frames. Let me see if I can Shift D that. And that's just going to lengthen that. So I'm going to actually delete that frame for the moment. And I'm going to take this and I'll copy it down here. This stuff's going to go into the normal eventually. I'm also going to add, so I'm going to Shift D, copy that. I think I need more room here, so I'm going to box select these and G, move them back. This is going to be switched to a color ramp. I always forget where these things are. And we're also going to need a bump, so I might as well copy that and Shift S, vector bump, and just get everything all set up. So we're out of the frame apparently. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'll just connect this to the normal for the moment, and you'll see that kind of craziness. I'm going to switch this distortion to 0, and I'll switch this back to sorry, bands, and scale of well, let's try, let's just bring this back to 1 for now. And this to 1, and you'll just see what we've got going on there. I'm going to increase the scale. We'll leave that at 1, distortion at 0, but we'll increase the scale in the X, and we'll see what that does. If I start pulling this, you'll see we'll start to get more lines. So you just decide how many you want. And then you can see we've got this white stuff here. So if I just shift select that and look through that, you can start to see what's going on. We're going to do some more here, so let's do that. Maybe 8 and 1. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect this color to the FAC here, and we can just go with that for, well, actually I think I will just go right ahead and connect that to height and normal to normal. And this is set as black and this is white. And if we just have a look at this, if I start pulling in this this one right here, you can see what it'll start to pinch those lines, and you bring it pretty close, and it'll start to look a little bit like wood. Okay. Let's have a look at this. You notice I've got that set at 1 and 0.02. 0.02. You can try that and see. All right. And we can also come over here and change the roughness to like 0.2. Try that. You get a really shiny wood if that's what you like. Once again, there's no real surface imperfections here, and so the Grant Abbitt tutorial goes into additional steps here where there's more bump added to it, and line shadow and stuff like that. But let's give it a try. Let's go Shift Z. Let's close the node editor for the moment and go Alt H to bring everything back. Look through the camera and have a quick peek at this. All right, so this is what I've got with the very basic wood. Again, you can change the colors and you can do more with this wood, but let's have a look at this. I just want to look at the top here. Okay. Yeah, we'll have a little look at this and see what it's like. I'm going to take this down to 12. Okay, and just for render settings, I'm just going to go with maybe 75% for now. Sampling, I've got it 220, and I've got denoising on, so we're going to give that a try, and we'll come back and we'll look at it. All right, here's how this is turning out so far. It could use some adjustment with the lighting and with the floor, but I think for our purposes, this looks pretty nice. If you were to go and follow Grant Abbitt's tutorial a bit more, you could fix up this wood, and you could put you could darken up these lines. He does that and add some bump and some more imperfection, and it would look even more realistic. But as I said, I'm not particularly going for that effect. I just wanted to show the very basic materials, the very basic lighting, and the very basic procedural wood floor, which still looks pretty nice. Okay, so we'll see you again soon, I hope.